Hello, this is Will Thompson. Hello, hello Exeter and the YouTube community. For the people at Exeter, you may have noticed that my bag has been missing for the past few months. Shortly after doing my previous video blog, I ditched that bag because I was caught by the on-site security because I happened to look like a homeless guy who was posing as a student. Okay, I'll come here to talk about Adam Buckley, and I distinctly like watching A Dose of Buckley on YouTube. Find his musical autopsies very entertaining, and I have put him up there on my panel of awesome alongside people like Jonah Goldberg, the columnist from America, but there are some things that I feel that I'm dislike that I feel require a YouTube video to discuss them thoroughly. Okay, one thing is I shares a distinct hatred of 90s kids, and this much I agree. I was born in 1993, and though I am a 90s kid, I distinctly dislike many people my own age, particularly the YOLO-ers. I find that associated attitude deeply nauseating. There is a problem about Buckley, that he seems to say that the problem with this age group, my age group, is selfishness. Okay, so he uses the term Generation Me a lot. I disagree. I am a believer in Ayn Rand and her belief of the virtue of selfishness, and I'll explain using her logic what that means, and that is that altruism being defined as totally living your life for others. Okay, so not simply being nice to people, but totally living your life for others. But let us remember, humans are not mind readers. Therefore, you can never 100% accurately guess what another human being wants. Therefore, if you did try to live 100% for someone else or for other people, you would fail eventually. And as a general rule, most objectivists, Ayn Rand followers, generally believe that you must do things to succeed. Therefore, living your life 100% for others is not only wrong, it is bad. Also, expecting other people to live their lives 100% for others is also bad for the same reasons. Another thing that some people, like Adam Buckley, but not necessarily Adam Buckley, is about individualism, which is associated with, this is trying to say that individualists are narcissistic. I disagree here again. I am also interested in another guy called Mikhail Clare-Nissen, the writer of the book Manipulation and the Weapon of Guilt, Collectivism Exposed, and based on his own experiences from growing up in Denmark, he gives a very convincing view that it is collectivism, not individualism, that is narcissistic, and there are various reasons for this. He says that, well, like an example would be narcissism would be defined as projecting a false image onto the world. In a collectivist society, lots of people have to project a false image in order to survive, because if they didn't live up to what the collective expects, they'd either, at the best, be ostracised, or in the worst, they'd be killed in some totalitarian system. So read Manipulation and the Weapon of Guilt, it's good. Now, what is the real problem with people? The real problem from people my age, and from my own experience, the real problem is one of disinterest, so just not really being interested in the wider world or politics or think, and to add to that, the few people who do seem to be interested in stuff seem to be all left-wing collectivist. Individualism does not imply disinterest. A rugged individualist must be interested in what's going on as part of its so that's one thing. Another thing is his jocks versus nerds video that he did a while. Adam Buckley's jocks versus nerds video that he did a while back, and he's trying to say that he's saying jocks and nerds are just mirror images of each other. Nerds and that they should not be fighting or being angry with each other. That they are and that they are useless. That they are putting too much energy into their pastimes and not enough into work, etc. And I found the video quite weird in terms of its definition. So let's look at the definition of nerd versus geek. Now, often people use the two terms interchangeably, but there is a subtle difference in the original meanings. That nerd would have originally meant an intellectual, so someone who learns for fun. Like, not simply that, but quite an obsessive intellectual. Geek kind of means someone who is just obsessive in general, so like, hence they'd probably be just usually obsessive about computer games, science fiction, fantasy, etc. etc. So that's one thing, a subtle difference. The other weird one is his definition of jock. He's describing people who are into fantasy football and into these baseball cards and all these things. That doesn't sound like a jock. That sounds kind of more like my granddad, or younger sports fans. Like, when I think jock, what I'm kind of thinking is more people who sort of play for a sports team, like their university sports team or their secondary school team, and like who just go there and go there and then play, then after the game go get drunk and go and make obscene gestures towards women walking past. And I'd have kind of thought these were just a subgroup of the YOLOers, that this is just a subgroup. And here is some, and this is when I find something very distinctly disappointing about Adam Buckley, that he describes himself as, he recently said angry humour for an angry man, but in a recent, for his videos you have to pay for, he described it nerdy humour from a nerdy man. You describe yourself as a nerd and yet seem willing to shower contempt on other nerds. Anyway, another thing in is Ben Affleck, thing about Ben Affleck being the new next Batman, and yeah, I'd agree that people do get annoyed over trivial things, but I found at the video, the bit at the end where he goes, when he said to all the people who are annoyed with Ben Affleck being Batman to do the world a favour and stop breathing. Oh, come on. All these people who sort of just start thinking that they are so important that they can just order people they don't like to kill themselves. It sucks. It sucks. Buckley, yeah, it does. Like, I just thought, it's not good that they think they can just order. And I'm sure you meant it jokingly, but I'm sure you meant it jokingly, but it still kind of sucks. The other thing is the recent Miley Cyrus video, not the recent one in response to all the videos you're getting. I'm thinking more your original video, in which you mention towards the end something about like sort of little girls watching Miley Cyrus and other things, and then thinking it's okay to dress up as sluts, as you put it, and then getting picked up by dirty old men. That sucks. If you are sexually attracted to prepubescent girls regardless of which clothing they choose to wear, that's messed up. Like paedophiles are messed up. Like, you shouldn't try and justify that in that way. It's just messed up. But then that shouldn't surprise, because an ongoing theme of collectivism in general, I mean, Adam Buckley's is quite a mild form of right-wing collectivism compared to the more twisted forms of collectivism out there. But an ongoing theme is a pervasive hatred of people pursuing their sexuality as individuals. So for right-wing collectivists, that involves hating female sexuality by calling them sluts or saying they're being indecent. For left-wing collectivists, that involves hating male sexuality by saying they're misogynist and that they are objectifying women. Yeah, it's another thing. Going on, the other one is the Amanda Bynes video, where towards the end you started blaming or claiming that Amanda Bynes contributed to what you called lots of teenage girls on Facebook acting like spoiled brats. If what you were referring to is people uploading selfies of themselves, particularly girls doing these posy photos, I can explain the truth about that from my experience with my sister. It's to do with America's Next Top Model, not Amanda Bynes. It is to do with this pervasive interest in the modelling industry that lots of particularly teenage girls, usually as a side thing want to get into the modelling industry, and it is a side thing, like just a side idea alongside being interested in education, getting a normal job, so you have nothing to worry about there. And finally, I'd like to discuss about his thing about the Corey Monteith-ish video where you did, and about your feeling about heroin addicts not deserving any sympathy. And whilst I find this gut-wrenchingly difficult to admit, heroin addiction is a disease, and it's gut-wrenchingly difficult to admit, but you'd use the logic that if you put someone on a desert island, would they get better or would they get worse? And so like if you put someone with, I don't know, cancer on a desert island, they would get worse because they wouldn't be getting the chemotherapy, whilst if you put someone who was obese on the desert island, they would get better because they wouldn't be shoving food down their throat. But if you put a heroin addict on a desert island, they would get worse because they would have withdrawal symptoms that would probably kill them. Now, and therefore it is kind of necessary for people on heroin to have some level of medical care if they're giving up, and you're probably still not convinced because you probably think well, if it's heroin, it's self-inflicted. But then you could argue, I don't know, lung cancer being self-inflicted through smoking, or HIV being self-inflicted for having sex without a condom, or like flu for not wiping down a surface thoroughly enough. Like you still need to give them help. You still do. Either way, I'm still going to be subscribing to Buckley. I still find most of his stuff entertaining, but I felt these things needed to be discussed through this format. Still cool, Buckley. Okay, and have a peace out.